Divya, you can start.
Good morning and a warm welcome to all gathered here today. I, Ms. Divya Sutar, welcome you all to an educational and informative online seminar on design thinking, critical thinking, and innovation design workshop, a technical session organized by the IIC SFIT in collaboration with ESA, Electrical Engineering Student Association. Kindly allow me to introduce our esteemed speaker for the day, Dr. Saurabh Mehta. Dr. Saurabh Mehta is the Chief Academic Officer at the Vidyalankar Institute of Technology and a professor at the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering. As CAO, he is actively involved in the designing of curricula, implementing academic planning and policies, introducing modern pedagogical tools, and teaching methodologies. He explores ways to collaborate and integrate academia and industry and facilitate training programs for academia so that students and faculty will gain useful exposure to the professional world. He puts in efforts to bring innovation in education, research programs, and human resource development. I kindly request Dr. Saurabh Mehta to take over the session.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so very good morning to one and all. Thanks a lot, Divya, for a very nice introduction. And before I start, I wanted to take this opportunity to present my gratitude to SFIT, Adil sir, and entire student team for organizing this particular like a workshop, giving me opportunity to share some of my thoughts with all of you. So we can start what is basically like design thinking. So generally, it's a very I may say a deep topic and it's a long topic. I mean, we cannot actually cover in like couple of hours. So what I try to do over here is that I try to put some important concept of design thinking in this presentation. Maybe we'll have the session for let's say for an hour, and I'll be spending around 45 minutes for explaining those basic concept, and then maybe for a 15 minutes we can have question and answer or whatever interaction we have. And even when I'm presenting something, and in between, if you would like to ask any question or any query, feel free to start with it. So before I start, I just wanted to make some disclaimer. Number one is that many of the framework and the diagram that I'm going to present in this presentation I have taken from other sources. I try to put all those sources at the end of the my presentation, and many images I have taken it from the Google images. So we may begin. So what basically in this session I'm going to cover. So as I said, like a few important key concept, principles of design thinking. And as a designer, or I'm sure many of you will go into like a product design or maybe R&D or any other profession. So design is an integral part of any profession, right? So what should be the mindset of any design thinker? So that is we are going to discuss. And what is basically like a design thinking process, methods, and tools. So we'll also look at some of the tools. I'm assuming that the students in this seminar are from all different branches, right? So it's not just like related to like a computer science or electronics or a mechanical engineer. No, it's actually applies to each and every branch, right? So maybe we can begin. So before I begin, I just wanted to give you my brief background about my industry experience. So throughout my career, or I may say early part of my career, I have actually spent time in a different R&D organization and in different companies basically into like a product design as a product design engineer or as a like R&D engineer. So I worked with many companies like LG, Samsung. I'm sure all of you have heard about this to name. SK Telecom, E3, Yosun Corporation, and then my research area is basically in designing and performance analysis of wireless network, game theory, RFID, IoT technology, education technology, and gamification. So I have throughout my career developed like a mini product, and product development is not that easy. It takes years and number of versions for it. So I've been involved or I have led team in developing certain products. So one such product is a home entertainment streaming device. So right now, all of you might be aware about a Fire Stick, right? So what is Fire Stick? So it's a tiny, you may say, the USB kind of like a device. Once you plug it into your non-smart TV, it converts into like a smart TV, and you can actually stream any kind of like the media you want through this particular device. So I am a bit proud of that I'm the stepping stone for this particular like a product, and we have done a basic research, and I may say the initial all 2 to 3 prototypes that we have developed, and now it is coming out as a like a full-fledged kind of product. Similar to that, battery monitoring, RFID, barcode asset management, IoT sensor, and many of the product which I have been involved or I have developed are still working in the industry. So it always gives some kind of like satisfaction as an engineer that okay, these are the things that we have created and people are finding it useful. So this is basically like my background. So why I'm telling you this background? Because throughout, as I said, in my career and now as a like academician also, like I have to design many things related to academics, especially the content design, many kind of like the interaction or instruction design, all these things. So all those things actually require is a design thinking. So design thinking approach has been very useful to me. So yeah, during the earlier days, we don't call it as a like a design thinking, but it was like a iterative process. But last 7 to 8 years, it has become like a very fancy word, and everyone is starting and calling it as a like no, this is as a separate branch of like importance. And then people started with like, okay, this is going to be like a design thinking, right? So we have been doing that, but now it has a, very good name, in fact, appropriate name. And through this particular like branch, we will be able to teach everyone that how we need to like uh, take the advantage of like a design thinking, right? So I mean, before we start to like our main topic, I would like to show this particular like a slide. I really love this slide, and how it is related to like a design thinking, that also I'm going to speak to you. So here in the slide you see that there are like a 4 quadrant, right? So if you look at the y-axis, you can say there is a quest for fundamental understanding, or about the it's a knowledge axis. If you look at the x-axis, it is more of a time axis, and you can say the usefulness of this particular like a knowledge. So if you take this two axis and then you plot this quadrant, it is very interesting to see. On the top left corner, you can see Dr. Niels Bohr, right? I'm sure all of you have heard about him. The person who actually gave the idea about like the atom and then the structure of different atoms, and how basically the material is need to be seen. And his knowledge is so useful that because of that we are able to do many new applications, right? But he was mainly concerned to bringing the new knowledge. So he was more into like a fundamental science, and many a times it happens that you do not understand the fundamental science at that time, and maybe at the later stage we come to know its application. So till that time it is just like a knowledge, right? And it's not going to impact on a large scale, I may say, to all the people, right? Even if you say there is an atom, there is an electron. So for a normal people, it's okay. This is a material. Okay, we understood that, right? So, and instead of let's say Niels Bohr, you can even put it like, Einstein. So if you put it Einstein over there, so Einstein come up with the theory of a relativity. So in our day-to-day life, we are not using that particular mechanics. It's only used when we assume that we are traveling with the speed of light, and then the fourth dimension and other things are going to come, right? So this is always, but it is very important because this kind of like a work is going to increase the horizon of our knowledge, and it also discovers that what we don't know actually, right? And just opposite to that, you see that there is a Mr. Einstein, sorry, Mr. Edison, and then all of you are aware that Edison was a great inventor. He holds so many patents, if I'm not wrong, more than 1,500 patents. And he was more keen on like application, that okay, I wanted to develop application which is going to make an impact on the society, which is going to impact on the economy of the country and then development of the country. And he established the company, and still we are actually using the product of that company. uh, I don't know, all of you are knowing which company he has established? Anyone can tell me which company he has established? So he established a General Electric, right? So General Electric, G in short. So you might have seen many, ad related to G, and so he established this company. Still, it is running, considered as one of the top company in making so many different kind of like a product, right? So if we go just little above him, you can see that there is a Pasteur quadrant, right? So Louis Pasteur, we all know, he was a father of vaccination, and because of his discoveries, now we are able to survive even in a COVID, right? So he was a perfect example where knowledge and the business, they come together, and they are making impacting on the life of a common man. So this is what is like every country requires, right? But it also depends and at what priority. So right now India is like a developing, very fast developing country, and so for us, it is very important that we will be focusing more on application-oriented research, which can directly impact to people. And slowly, as we move on, once our economy is like completely developed, we have lots of money to do even a fundamental research. And that doesn't mean we should not do it. But what I mean is that priority as a students, as an engineer, is that we should focus more on like application-oriented research. Now when we do the application oriented research, and when you are coming into like a product, very important thing is that that product you are going to make it for a human being, right? The human is going to be the center, and this is where the design thinking comes in. So design thinking entire process is revolve around your customer or the human being, and how human being is going to perceive this particular product or a service, right? So this is what is the base for design thinking. So let's move ahead. So let's try to understand that when I talk to like a faculty member, students, so there are lots of like a confusion about like a design thinking, or people, they know some terms but they are not aware about like the terms in entirety. So that is where it's important that we should try to like create awareness that what is actually the design thinking is. So as I said, the first and very important, it's a human centric approach, because all your service customers that you are actually preparing, that you are making it only for a human being. And when we are preparing something for a basically like a human being, so we need to understand their needs, we need to understand their pain points, we need to understand that do they really require to get this particular like a product, or is there any area where through introducing this product or a service we are going to make an impact on people's life, right? So as a entrepreneur, or let's say as an innovator, this is really important, right? So human centric approach is very important. And many a times what we believe that thing, whatever we do the market, and people are going to buy it. And we can see that example, there are many like chips makers and soft drinks and all, everyone is like bombarding with you that this product is so cool, this product is this. But we need to ask the question, this product is really like a useful, is going to add any value to me, right? Maybe for a feel good factor, maybe 1 or 2 times it's okay, but on everyday basis, maybe we do not require that thing, right? So marketing and I may say the sales people, they make people want things, right? By doing advertisement and other things. But as a design thinker, what you think is that you make the things which actually people want, right? It's not like that you make something and now you are putting and bombarding the ads of that product to all the people and telling them, see, look at this. Now we are introducing you and you have to buy it, right? So that is not the way, it's other way around. And a very important part is that the design thinking always encourage innovation, that you need to come up with a critical thinking. You need to come up with out of box thinking for a particular solution. And it actually drives you to do the collaboration with the multiple domain people, right? So I'll just give one of my example. So I was working on one particular, like, health standard. So I don't know, maybe if some of you might be from a telecommunication, you might have heard about WBAN. It's a wireless body area network. So I was designing some protocols for that, and I was designing some prototypes for that for communication part. So in that case, we need to actually, do the collaboration with the doctors, because as an engineer, okay, we will be designing all that communication devices, but at what frequency? And this particular, like, the devices are going to be within your body, on your body, outside your body, right? So for everything you require different frequency and different kind of like a power transmission. So you need to, like, collaborate with this thing. And even as a like a independent consultant, when I work, we need to take help of, like, many different people, like, just for example, artists who can actually make the website. I mean, we can develop the website easily, that is okay. But when it comes to interact with a customer or with the things, you require a person who is, like, expert in that, who can understand that what color should be of the button, where we need to place the button, how this is like easy for a customer to navigate this entire website, right? So it make you to collaborate with the people, right? And then for every industry, for every sector, there is a different need. So how we are going to, like, help with a different industry and this thing, for different need, different product, different services we require, right? So now let's try to understand what is not design thinking, right? So many people say that thing, oh, it's just related to like a visual design. It's not true. Majority of the time, or I may say almost 100% of the time, it's the visual design comes at a very later stage. But the first and very important thing comes is the solving the problem of any people in a optimized way. That is what is there, right? Then many people say it is related to product design. Not necessary. As I told you that even when I'm designing, like, many instruction set, or I'm designing many manuals or a content for the students. So that time also, like, a design thinking is very important. It's not only related to R&D, right? It is, if you look at the bigger picture, R&D going to be the part of it. It's not design thinking is a synonym of like R&D, right? It is, and this is a big conception that it is only limited to creative people. Yes, creative people are required. Creative people are always welcome, but design thinking itself is an entire, like, the process that even any common person like you and me, if we go through this, so we can also understand that how we need to find the solution. We can also come up with a particular, like, solution. So maybe in the later side, we are going to see all those kind of like a processes, right? So if you are not a creative person, you are not good with the drawing, you are not good with like this thing, don't worry about it. It's a process driven mechanism. And if you learn the process, it's very easy to do it, right? And it is not only like a one way process, like you go into like a linear scale and then, it's sequential, that okay, first you complete this task, then you move to the next task. No, it is not like that. It is just coming back and forth. So we'll again come back to this particular like a point when I'll be showing you the model. And many people think that okay, just brainstorming with the people, coming together and discussing something will solve. No, it's not that way. It may be the initial phase, but as you move on into developing any product or a service, so you required more than a brainstorming, right? So again, this particular like a point we are going to discuss in my future slide. So okay, So now here in this diagram, you can see that thing that, when you start working on something, when your group come together, just for example, let's say your final year project, when you want to do, everybody pitch in with so many ideas and so many things. And then you try to decide that, okay, this is what is going to happen. So it's a clutter. It's lots and lots of like a clutter. So generally in research, it is always like that because it's morely like a trial and error method that you do this thing, then you move to another one, then again you come back to like a something. So it's like, that's, you can see how it works in our mind. It's morely like, the cluttering part. So then as you move towards like a prototype, okay, you have some clarity, you have some kind of like, so it's start to become like, more a straight and a focus thinking, focused, basically like a clarity you have, at most clarity. And then as you move towards like a design, so then immediately you struck that, okay, this is what we want and this is what we are going to develop it, right? So this is the power of like a design. So how we can bring this particular approach even in the first stage, so that unnecessary this kind of like a clutter is not required. So this is very important. So this is where like your design thinking actually pitch in and then help you to figure it out, that what is going to be like the clarity and the complete like a focus. So let me just give you like couple of examples, I mean. So maybe first we can start with like a Starbucks. So all of you are aware what is basically like a Starbucks, right? Very well known coffee brand, and then the store where you can actually go and then relax and enjoy with your friends, family members, and many a times working people. They also use it for a meeting place and all other thing, right? So Starbucks is very well known and it's very popular in USA. And why it is actually well known? Because it help you to make a customized coffee, right? So whatever size, whatever kind of taste you require. So you have multiple option and you can actually customize your coffee. The only problem is that when you go to like a Starbucks, and if there are lots of people, you have to stand in a queue, and then till that time your number comes, maybe your mood has been changed, or maybe sometimes during the office time, the queue is really long, right? Office time, or you can say general like a working time, queue is long. So may not be like the proper solution for that thing. So then Starbucks started to understand why we are not getting enough customer. Earlier we used to have a long line, and then they did the survey and they understood that, oh, there is a pain point that people do not like to stand in a queue for a more than 5 minutes or 6 minutes. So within that time span, if your number is coming, people are okay. But if it is more than that, then they just turn away from the cafe, and that's how they started to reduce the number of things. So what they come up, they said that, okay, why don't we come up with some kind of like online solution? So through that online solution, before you start from your office, you can say that thing, by this time I'm going to come and this is what is my coffee. So by the time you reach there, your coffee and order will be ready. But this is a bit old solution. So that time this kind of like a payment was not there. So they come up with a new kind of like card, where already like a payment was like a prepaid, and then you can use it for this thing. And believe me, this solution worked like a magic for them. They started to see that the customer number of customers are increasing, and at the same time the queue is also getting like a reduce, and what they wanted to achieve within like the 5 minutes or 6 minutes waiting time, want to serve the customer. So that was happening, right? So ultimately it actually helped them to improve their efficiency, improve their brand value, and obviously the sales, right? So this is the power of like design thinking. I'll give you another example. So you see the Procter and Gamble, right? It's very popular kind of like a company which makes different kind of like a product, like a shampoo, hair oil, or whatever we consume. I think majority of them it's been produced by P&G, even your toothpaste and everything, right? So P&G basically, I'm talking, I'm giving you this case studies about like a US. I'll also come to Indian companies a bit later. So in P&G, so what is like a P&G has done? Because in USA, majority of the people are like a working, and they do like laundry during the weekend, and even they do not have like a common every home has students and everyone, right? So it is always confusing that, okay, if we are putting a cloth, what should be the measurement of the liquid or a soap that we need to put in? So what they have done is that they come up with some kind of like a small sachets packet that you just put it into this thing and don't worry about the measurement and everything. And it become instantly so hit that people started to love it, and there, the earning started to grow like anything. And it is considered as one of the most successful study. I'll also give you one Indian example. So 15 years back, if you wanted to buy the sachets and everything, right now maybe you can get like a shampoo in a 2 rupees, hair oil in a 2 rupees. If you want some standard kind of like a soap, you can get it in small pack 2 rupees. You know why that particular thing started? Because when these companies they were making a product, it always comes with bigger packet, and only the higher middle class can actually consume that, right? But if you wanted to reach to the rural area in a rural market in India, where is a huge market, but they do not have the buying capacity. That okay, they might require only, let's say, not every day, but maybe once or twice in a week, or maybe for a some special occasion only they would like to consume it, such an expensive product. So for them right now there was no option at all. So then people understood there is a rural market and there is a pain that people wants to buy, but we are not able to deliver them the product in a given format. And that's how this particular the idea of sachet started. Now you see that even right from your pickle to your tomato sauce to the big thing, everything comes with like a 1 or 2 rupee like a sachet, which is very easy for anyone to buy, and they can consume it. And then they also feel like a good about it, that okay, we are able to consume it, right? So this completely changed the market, right? Just to come up with this particular like a solution, if you understand the need, if you understand the pain area of a people, then it's very easy, right? So this is what like in India it's such a success, huge. And similar kind of like a session, this thing you will not find it in a developed country. Why? Because over there anyways the market is like already grown, people can actually consume the things in a bigger size, so it's okay. So this is what is like how you need to do the customization for every market, every sector, every country, right? So similar to that, there are example of like Apple Store. So if you go to like Apple Store, so what is going to be experience, you will see that thing that many people are using Apple product. And if you go to their stair, it's not like a stack with all the products, but you will find lots of space over there, right? So they design this space in a such a way that thing there is a room for like having a interaction, having a activity, having different feel in Apple. And this is what their concept is, that you will feel something like a different. And this kind of like a design is adopted all across the globe. And you see that that is most profitable business if we consider through Apple and through the retail store. And they are the most successful. Why? Because per square feet, whatever they are earning, it's the highest among all other stores, all other brands and everything, right? Why? Because of this particular kind of like a concept. So that concept comes from where? It is come from like a designing. People understood that. And when people are coming and buying such an expensive product, it's not just buying a product, but try to understand its culture, try to understand its different feel. And for that, you have to give them some unique experience. And that unique experience can only come when you have a like, spacious store, when you have enough number of like a people, and then they will be able to interact with it. And then they can show you the latest kind of like, the gadgets and those kind of things, right? So these are some of the examples where they have adopted the design thinking approach, and now they are so successful about it, right? So similar to like Adopt also. So now it's not only in a foreign country, even in India, there are so many different success story. So one particular like and whatever the company right now that I'm showing you as a logo. So all those companies they have a special division of like design thinking, and there are so many like design thinking engineers who are actually involved into like a product design or finalizing the product specification and everything. Just to give you an example, TCS, I'm sure maybe your generation might have not experienced, but in our generation, when we have to go to the passport office, it is always a mess and a big queue, and then you don't know when your number is going to come. There are so many agents, and it's bringing like corruptions, and you have to wait for your passport for almost, I may say, 60, 70, 80, 90 days even, and many a times it is even 6 months, 1 year, even if you go in a rural area, right? So this is kind of the scenario that time. And now, if you look at current scenario, I'm sure many of you might have received your passport recently within 4 or 5 years. So you have seen that thing, how standardized the process is, because it has been designed by TCS, run by TCS. So once you booked your appointment, you will get a fixed time slot that during this time slot you have to come. And as you start moving into the office, you will go to first checking of your document, then your photograph, and then again re-verification and something. So there is a very sequential kind of like a process, and within 30 minutes you are done with it. And within 4 to 5 months, 4 to 5 days, you will get your passport, even if it is urgent. You can get it on a emergency basis, right? And even the police verification, everything been done very quickly. So why? Because of this kind of like a design thinking process. So you can see there is a difference. Now another particular example I'll give you. So maybe your generation may not be able to connect it, but I'm sure Adil sir might be aware with this thing. And we used to wait a long to open a bank account in any bank, because it takes time to do the verification and checking all your stuff, and then starting with your bank account. But nowadays it's just a 5 minutes like a work. So you go to the bank, you do the online KYC, and your Aadhaar is going to, and Ola and Infosys and Mahindra, all basically the framework of like a design thinking, right? So the very three important component that you need to think about. See, whenever you are going to do the business, obviously we need to think about this viability, right? You create some product, and if you are not able to sell that product, that is not a business. It's not a good business at all, right? So the business is required is a viability. Then very important thing is about technology. Sometimes technology we develop, but technology is so expensive that it is not accessible to all common people. I'll give you one example. So maybe 10, 15 years back, if you wanted to do, the data consumption, right? So in telecom sector, I know at that time, if I wanted to consume like a 1 GB of data, I used to pay, almost like a 900 to 800 rupees. I'm sure even Adil sir can see. I'm sorry because I do not have your related like example. So maybe you will find it difficult to imagine. But now you can see that thing. What is a 1 GB data price? It has almost come down to 15 to 16 rupees, right? So what is this shows? That okay, technology that we are building. So this technology is now more feasible. More people can access this. Why? Because earlier it was so expensive, only a few people can actually able to like use it. But now everyone can access it, right? Why? And even day by day, the data rate is going down and down. And maybe one day the time will come that it is almost going to be the free of charge. Only the money that you are going to pay is for the content and the service consumption, right? So this is what is like, the technology feasibility means, right? So this is important. And very important is that people desirability, that okay, people really need some kind of like a product or a game. If you advertise about certain product or game, maybe for 1 or 2 times or for out of curiosity, they will take, but it is not a sustainable growth. You want that people should really value your product. They should understand, oh, this is to fulfill, my understanding. I mean, my gap or my need, and then only you are going to like, consume it. So desirability is also important. And when you put all these things together, you can see in a small chunk the new innovation that happens. And this is where to do this innovation, you require is a design thinking process. So I hope that now all of you have understood that what basically is like, the design process is all about, and then how it is useful for designing a product or a service. Okay, so let's move to this one. Okay. So now, as an engineer, we are always trained for making a reliable system, safe, proven, and we do lots of analytical thinking. We do lots of trial and error, right? At the same time, creative people or let's say artist people, they have the gut feeling. Okay, intuitive thinking is there. So they say that no, this is going to how appeal the people, right? But they do not have any kind of like a scientific evidence for that. So what we want to do is that we wanted to bring this to approach together, and that is where design thinking comes, where we need reliability, we need a safe, proven system. At the same time, it should be wow experience for the user also, right? So this is where like a design thinking comes. Okay. So now, what is basically like a mindset of a designer? Let's say when you wanted to find any particular solution, the first and very important principle is that you need to think about the user first. That how my user is going to react to this particular product. I'll share one very good important story about Steve Jobs. All of you are aware, right? Who is Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple? So initially, when he come up with the iPhone, so earlier the phone used to have the corner. Corner means it's like this tip. It's not like a rounded shape. Right? So he used to fight with his engineer. No, 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 no. This is not a good because this kind of like a corner can be harmful for my user when they take out from their pocket or something. Even they can stretch their clothes and everything. So this design is not at all accepted. What we need a design is that we need to have the round shape. So engineer said that no, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. But he pushed them. No, our user required this experience, so we have to come up with this thing. And if you look at any kind of like now Apple product, you will always find they were the pioneer in making it as a like a round, right? So right now also you can see that I'm using the laptop. So Apple, you can see that thing, right? This is basically like a this thing. So this is initiated by them, and and so what is important thing? It's a user first. User first. He was always thinking, and that's the reason that Apple products are so popular in US. People love to use it. Why? Because of that kind of like an approach. Then very important thing when you are designing something, you ask the right question. What are the right questions? What kind of like a stuff we need to ask to the people, right? So then you can get to answers, right? And always you need to believe that when you ask the right question, you do the proper discussion, you can actually come with particular like a very good solution, right? And always ready to commit and explore the different option. We should not shy away. Let somebody say that this is the way, this is the way. So yes, let's try to evaluate it. Let's try to do that thing. And finally, we need to put our like a prototype to the test, right? So this entire process is very nicely shown in this I-shaped pattern. So here you can see that thing there is a problem. Now, when there is a problem, so obviously you come up with a team, you think about different options, and it may happen that in those discussion, all of you start to do the diverse thinking. Means everybody has taking a different path, going into like increasing basically the problem understanding, and then you reach to one particular like a stage where you started to understand each and every idea, evaluate this idea, and you can nuke it down. Okay, this idea is not going to work. This idea is not working. This prototype is not working for so and so reason, right? And then you start to converge to one particular solution. That here you can see that thing. Okay, now you are converging to one solution, and you are going to get like one focused solution, right? So this is what is like a creative problem solving. So it's always follow this pattern, the diverse thinking, and then it goes over to converge thinking, right? Converge means what? We are converging to one particular solution or set of particular like a solution, right? This is what is like a mindset for thinker. So what it shows us that whenever any options, any kind of things, we need to listen to it. We need to understand it. Not we need to like simply like outweigh reject it, right? So this is not going to work. Okay. So now very important and very the crux of this particular like a lecture that I am showing you this diagram. So initially this particular approach was proposed by Stanford Design School in early 80s, and they started to ask this question: how to like make our product more attractive, more user friendly, and then they finally come up with this particular like a, framework. So there are now many frameworks are actually available, but more or less they are based on this particular framework. So this is a 5 steps basically framework. So what is it? The first and very important kind of like a step is about empathy. Empathize means what? You need to understand the pain of your user, right? So there is a sympathy, then there is a empathy, right? What is a sympathy? Sympathy is that okay, something happened bad to your friend, you say that, oh, what bura hua, it's a sad thing. But you are not going to understand that friend's pain, right? But if the same thing happens with you, then immediately you relate it. Oh my God, this is like really tough thing. It's called empathy. Then you started to feel the pain of another person. That's the reason there are saying that when you wanted to understand something, you need to put your feet into their shoes and then understand. So this is what is empathy is about. So how we are going to gather the empathy about it? So there are number of ways by doing interview with people, by doing questionnaire with them, try to understand. I mean, staying with them, try to understand their basically like a problem, asking question, and when asking, you should be non-judgmental. We do not need to be like judgmental for that thing. Right? So this is what is like a very important. The first stage. So when you have a empathy, you understand that this is what is like the problem they are facing. This is what is the pain area they have. So let's try to figure it out, that particular like a pain area. So then afterwards, if you look at it, it's called define. So once you understand that this is particular like the pain area, now you need to convert into a scientific problem that engineers, that designer can understand, right? To just give you an example that I mean, if I say if I'm traveling from the other to, let's say, to my place to Kandivali, uh, I have to travel through the train. So I will say that thing. Oh, it is like always in a summertime. It's like very tough. You are always sweating, and then there is no thing. If I could get something like a AC or something, will be a good, and then I can able to travel it, right? So see, now as a user, I'm just defining my problems into like a keywords. Okay, there is a hot weather during the summer time, this thing. But exactly I don't know what I need, right? Even I am not able to imagine that, oh, there is going to be like AC train, right? I don't know. Or maybe if I can say AC chain, maybe feasible, I don't know. Right? So this is where engineer comes in. They try to understand this thing and then define. Oh, so the problem statement is that there are many people who requires like AC train to moving from a church gate to the Borivali or up to the Vira. So during the summer time they are facing lots of problem. And, because of that, they do not want to travel through the train, and because of that impact which is going to go on a road and traffic increase during that time and all this, right? All that study you do basically. So you say that thing, oh, why don't we provide them like AC train? So then you can define, okay, so what the solution definition, I mean, the problem statement is that we need to provide a AC carrier during the summertime so that people will not move away from the railway. That's how you define. Then you come up with a different idea that, okay, let's bring the idea that how we are able to solve this problem, what design we need to bring, whether our existing railway can support this thing, we require more power. Do we support more power in our head over line? How we need to do it, right? Then you come up with the different ideas. And then once you do it, then you come up with a prototype. Okay. And then you go to the testing. Let's test it. And once after testing all your parameters, safety, everything is tested, you say that now we are ready to launch this product, and you address to the people's need. So this entire process start right from the empathy and it is reaching towards the test. It's a long process, right? 5-step process. But in every step, there is a non-linearity. Okay, I'll show you that. So here you can see there is a non-linearity. From every state, you again come back to like, the problem statement or maybe to your idea or even to a prototype developing. Why you need to do it? Because something goes wrong. So you need to understand. Again, you have to go back to like a drawing board, prepare something new. So you remember in earlier I said It's a non-linear process, right? So this is a non-linear process. And that is one of the reason also many small companies, they cannot afford the design thinking approach. Why? Because it's consumed time, it's consumed resources. Okay. So this is basically a design thinking process that we have. Right now, how basically you can visualize it, and at every stage, what you are going to get it, right? Because engineers can understand only specification, whatever it is written on a paper or a drawing. So how to get it? So there is, again, you can say this is a framework. So you start with a question, what is it, right? And then you can see that thing line over there. You come up with a design brief. You try to understand that what are the problem, what are the things, how we have to do the mind mapping, brainstorming, and everything. Then you move to what if we are providing. So you are basically into, like, ideation. So then state and then try to get the data that, okay, this is what is we are getting as a, like a design criteria. And these are the limitations. These are the positive things. These are the things that we have to do it, right? And as you go to that thing, oh, what wows, how user is going to be, like, experience the excellence in this one. So you coming to the napkin pitch and concept, the need, approach, benefits, and competition. Then you finally go that what works for it, right? So you test it basically, and then from that you gather all this experience that, okay, it's a learning, it's a non-learning. This is going to work in a market. This is not going to work in a market, right? So everything you have, it's a recorded evidence, and from that you can actually design a better product, right? Okay. So now I have shown you one particular, like a framework, standard Stanford standard studio design framework. Similar to that, there are many models where one or two more stages are added, or somewhat here and there they have moved around, right? So this is just for your reference, but majority of the time that we are following is a, like, the design studio framework, which is quite popular. So based on that, there is a IDEO model, then there is a double diamond model, then IBM, they have developed their own design model, specifically considering that they are going to do more kind of, like, the hardware design and all this thing, right? So that is there. Then Platter Institute model. Then Google, they have their own kind of like a model. Nestle has School of Business. They have their own kind of like a model. So various model. You just type it in a Google and you will get lots of literature related to it, right? So considering the time limitation, I'll not be going into all this. And as I said, more or less, they are just similar to what, like a Stanford, like a design studio has produced, right? So there are many tools available, right? So why basically, like a empathy actually helps you to understand the entire customer journey. So when we say the customer journey, what do you want from a customer? You want that customer should come to me, buy the product, and after buying the product, he should come again and again to me, become loyal to me. So from buying for the first time to the loyalty, it's a huge journey. And that journey you can see, I mean, through the various kind of, like, the path, right? Awareness, consideration, purchase. And very important part is after sales service. If your after sales service is not good, people will say that thing now onwards, I'm not going to go for this particular product or a brand, right? So this is very, very important. And then you can see the loyalty expansion. And you will see there are some people who are, like, diehard fan of certain brand. They only buy the things only from that particular, like, a brand. How they comes? Because of this kind of, like, customer journey. Now, how to get this kind of, like, a empathy map, right? So there are various kind of, like, a tools available. One particular, like, a tool that I have mentioned. It's a very simple tool. You just need to draw the thing, take like a paper, sticky paper, you put it that what people thinks about it, what people says. Thinking and says both are different, right? What that does actually. So there is a different, what they feels actually, right? So if you try to negate all this point, you can see that thing that you are going to create a complete empathy map out of it, right? So this is one particular, like, a good framework. Now, similar to that, there are many actually online tools available. I'm not sure whether you can see that in a large way, but later on I'll send this slide to sir. Maybe all of you can look at it. So there are different kind of, like, the tools available. Let's say if you wanted to develop a some kind of like a website. So maybe you can go for a wireframe, or maybe you can simply go to like, the WordPress, where you can check different templates and see that thing, how it looks like. You can need to do any customization into that, right? So similar to that, for a prototype, you have different tools. Many tools are free of charge. Many tools are like a paid charge, but it's okay. Just for example, design. If you wanted to design some posters and other thing, you are going to go to use a Canva. Now in Canva free, you will have a limited access, but if you buy, purchase it, you will get like, many templates, many different kind of like options available to you, right? So time to master, future relevance, versatility, price. So many different like, tools are available. So you can have a look at it. Now, when we are talking so much about like a design thinking, so obvious questions comes in that. Are there any limitation? Yes. Nothing is perfect. There is always a trade-off for anything, right? Always people have some good thing, always they have some negative points. So what are the negative points is that? So as I mentioned to you, because it's a non-linear process and resource intensive, so that's why it's a time consuming process, right? It takes time. You cannot say that, okay, I wanted to make a product, this is a design, this is kind of thing. Let's say within a 3 to 4 months, we are ready with the product. No, you have to do lots of like a homework, and for that homework it takes time. So it's a time consuming process, and that's the reason majority of the big companies, they are able to have this kind of like a centers, but other small companies, they do not have. They only go by their gut feeling or past experience, right? And it's also brings lots of subjectivity and ambiguity, right? Let's say I get a one particular like a keyword from a user that I don't like this particular like a bottle, right? I don't like this bottle. Now user is not give you the specification why I don't like this bottle. He says that no, I don't like this particular like a bottle shape. Now as a designer, I need to interpret it. Why he doesn't like this particular bottle? Maybe because of the metal body, or because of the color or this thing. So it brings lots of subjectivity, right, and ambiguity. So sometimes you feel that thing, oh, maybe people they don't like it because of the this kind of like a shape, and you change the shape and you come up. Still, product is not useful. That means you have wrongly interpreted the meaning of people's like a need, right? So this kind of like a things keep happening in design thinking. So how to remove that thing? Obviously, there are many other like a framework, but as I said, due to limited time, maybe we will not be able to cover it. And then obviously, lack of like a concrete solution is there, because we go with certain flow. So sometimes it may happen that another particular like a option might be good, but we neglect it, and then we just go ahead with one thing, right? And when you try to bring this kind of like a change, there you will find lots of resistance also among the designer, among the engineer. But I gave you example of like, the Steve Jobs. He wanted to make it round, and engineers were opposing that. No, this is not possible, not worth to spend so much time, money for it, right? So resistance can come. And many a times is overemphasis on creativity, so which is also not good, but it should be a process driven thing, right? And it has a limited applicability when we say. So it's more kind of like, maybe there are several kind of like a product. Just for example, in defense very important. I'm just giving you defense, but there are many. So in defense, what is important is that secrecy and other thing. It's not about like human experience or something. So over there, it may happen that the entire product or things been done in a different section, different part, and then put it together, so that if nobody knows that what is going to be like commons like this, right? So it has some. And limited applicability means what? Wherever human comes in as a center, that time you can actually easily apply uh, 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 design thinking approach. But for other thing, maybe not required, or not you don't need to even look at it, right? To just give you another example, let's say any company who is making like, the scooter. Now already they have identified the need, they made this kind of like, the scooter, and design is perfect. So now as a next step, what company is going to do? They are going to improve the engine efficiency, they are going to improve certain technical parameters, so that performance is going to be better, right? So then as a, you don't need to go again and again to the user will say that, okay, this is I'm getting as a additional feature, and is good. And this entire exercise required is the expertise. And if you do not have the expertise, then obviously lots of resource, time, and everything is going to be like, wasted in this thing, right? So if you wanted to understand the design thinking, only three things you need to understand: sympathy, you need to go one step beyond that, that is the empathy, and then finally the compassion. So once you have empathy, you can try to find a solution for that. You can say, I am having a compassion for that, right? So this is what is very important. Sympathy may lead to empathy, but empathy can definitely lead to compassion if you take a solution approach, right? So this is really, really important. And as I said, I have collected this thing from many resources. So these are some really fantastic books that all of you can read in more detail about like design thinking. In fact, design thinking is like, entire like a 4 years course. And I teach this particular course, 6 months course to MMS students and to other students. So I go through and I use this particular like a book. So right, and very important thing, it's not design thinking, but you have to design your thinking. So that is important. So I like this recent new book by Dr. Pawan Soni. It's a wonderful book. All of you can refer to it, and then you can see more learnings from it. And so I guess here I'm ending my presentation. Now maybe we can take on question and answer if we have. And if you like to collaborate with me, if you have anything that you would communicate with me, so this is my email ID. I'm also available on a LinkedIn. So if you like to connect with me on a LinkedIn, I'll be more than happy to do this thing. So now I can open it for a question and answer and a discussion.
You can type in chat box in case if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
If anybody has any question, they can type in chat box as well.
I can understand we have been a bit fast because of the limited time, and also many concept I have just given you brief idea. So generally, if you wanted to do like real hands-on something, so we take like a 2 days basically like a workshop. I'm sure maybe in future when the time permits, we'll definitely do this thing. But the idea was that to give you the brief idea what is basically like a design thinking in a short span. So any question, any query? Yeah, Adil sir. So if there is no question and not right now, even at the later stage, if you have, you can.
Excuse me, sir. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a question, sir. My question was, sir, in the aspect of design thinking, we know it. We are going, so we are thinking about the point of a customer. So, aspects are the customer.
Irfan, just I'm not able to hear your voice clearly.
Okay, so, I'm
Irfan, there
audible,
is a
sir.
lot of echo. There is a lot of echo.
Wait, just wait. Just a second. Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Uh, am I audible right now without echo?
No, still we can hear lots of background noise. What I may suggest, can you put it into chat window so it will be easy to understand? You can answer.
Oh, okay, sir. Okay, sir. So we,
Irfan, you mute yourself.
Till the time Irfan is typing, do we need to take any other question or anything? Yeah. Okay. Fine. Let me read your question. So what Irfan is saying is that, sir, as a part of a design thinking, we are most concerned as what the customer needs are. So how we can get to know as per our product. I need some suggestion like how can get to know the customer more. Yeah, very good question. So this is basically like the first step, as I said. So first step is what is empathy. Right now, just to give you an example, let me give you one example of one particular like a product. Okay, so one company actually approached to us. What they need was that I mean they were like they wanted like the theft alarm system for their battery. I was very shocked. I mean this particular company was like a mobile company, and why is it so? What is like a problem into that? So they said to me that sir, we have over like a power system in a rural area, and generally over there the power is not like like 365 days and 24 by 7. So you need to actually run UPS on a battery, and people over there, it is like generally BTS, the cell site is guarded by like a one particular like a person, and even it is not that efficient. So people they used to have the battery from there, right? So, and because of that, majority of the time our SIL and everything is like, the down, and we are not able to like, give them the better like the services, right? So we understand okay, this is kind of like a problem we have, but still, is there any way which we can actually provide basically like a solution? So then we went, I mean, to the cell site and the rural area, and we identified there are multiple problems and how basically that happened. Even though there is like the guard, majority of the time they get the bribe and then they try to do they themselves actually they take out the battery and then give it to it. So while designing this particular like a services, when we went to the we try to understand their entire ecosystem. We try to understand what is basically happening and how this is going on. And then we have left like a camera for a certain time. We observe this thing. So from that observation, we come to know that this is how we need to design our basically like a system, which can actually give the complete solution. And now this particular solution has been applied to this thing, right? So you need to go to your customer. You need to sometimes, they are not able to express themselves in a proper word. So it is our job that how we are going to ask them a right question, right? Asking right question is very important. That's the first ability of any designer thinking that how to make it so in a expressive way so that finally you can define the problem properly. So and how you can do that thing. So you can do it by like interviews and going to like talking to people in this particular area, and then you can try to speak with the expert, gather their particular information, and then come up with this thing. There is no alternative for that, and that's why majority of the time it's the time consuming. And this entire exercise is a learning exercise. Means you need to go to the field, you need to discuss with the people, you need to like observe the things by yourself for multiple times, and then we can actually jot down certain kind of like a definition, right? So this is how you have to reach to the people. I hope I try to answer your question, or is there anything else you want to know? Okay, so there is one more question. One second, I'll read that. Okay. So Raj Mirani is asking the question in a design thinking challenge while presentation while presenting a product, how much we should focus on explaining and presenting technical terms and methodology, right? Okay. So see, design thinking is, as I said, it is not just only like a creative thing. It's also depends on like technicality. You need to come up with finally the specification. So I may say it's equally important. It's nothing less, nothing more. It's equally important. Right? We need to give good amount of emphasis on designing and engineering terms, because without that you are not going to be able to build any particular like a product. I hope I have cleared my doubt. I mean, I question. Any other question? Any other question? So if there is no, then maybe
Yeah.
I'd like to end
Divya,
this
you are
particular
there?
session. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just ask if is there any more question. Otherwise, we can conclude.
Okay. Guys, do we have any more questions? I think then we should conclude. Thank you so much, Saurabh sir, for taking time to provide such valuable insights and information on design thinking to all our students. Your expertise will definitely benefit us in our engineering careers, and we are incredibly grateful for the knowledge you've shared with us today and for the doubts that you cleared of our students. Thank you so much once again, and we would like to conclude this session now.
Once again, thanks to you, thanks to Adil sir and to SFIT management for giving me the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.